morning, everyone. Don't worry about my last name. It's the weirdest name in the world. So I work Skelly in Southwest Florida and in Immokalee, and I'm going to talk about water use and root distribution in citrus hydroponics. Don't worry about my last name. It's the weirdest name in the world. So don't worry about my last name. It's the weirdest name in the world. So I work Skelly in Southwest Florida and in Immokalee, and I'm going to talk about water use and root distribution in citrus hydroponics. Just kind of an overview. We know how much citrus accounts for production in the US. It's about 63% of production, and that's the largest production in the US. You are talking about 1.5 to $2 billion of produce per year. So that's a lot of money. But so far, I've seen a lot of decline in production area from about 845,000 acres to about 530,000 acres from 98 to about 2012, just because of problem of greening and canker, and also expanding population that has resulted in a lot of urbanization going on. So, as we have noticed, most of the production has really declined. And then there's been a suggestion over the past 5 to 6 years to try to expand the production area by promoting tree growth and increasing yields. One of the strategies that has been proposed is the use of what they call the OHS. Maybe some of you are familiar with it. Maybe you've heard about it or attended some field days up there in Lake Alfred. I think near Abandero, there's a grove there. They put the OHS concept, and maybe it's around Immokalee. Yeah, so that concept intends to promote irrigation, citrus nutrition, and also combine with better horticultural practices. And it was developed in countries like Spain, South Africa, Chile, or somewhere in California, but was never tested down here in Florida. And yet we have different soils, and we have, different conditions. It's humid, and usually you need to use, caution when you irrigate, when you apply fertigation. You need to be cautious because it's going to leach a lot of nutrients. So it was kind of adapted for Florida conditions, and we term it the Advanced Citrus Production System, that kind of abbreviation right there, which is kind of, an approach to manage young trees, get them, flourish, grow faster, start producing yields, and we're looking at high densities, about 300 trees per acre or greater. And the main purpose is to make sure we work on promoting tree production to curb greening and also canker. So there were a couple of experiments that we did up there in Lake Alfred and somewhere in Immokalee for about 3 years. So I think the data that I'm going to show will be just snapshots, but there have been some interesting results that will give us some information that we can use for making some decisions. So I'm going to talk about water use patterns for young trees, less than 4 years old. For the sites that we started, the spot also is the soil that's spotted drained somewhere in Immokalee, and then the empty soil is somewhere near Lake Alfred. And I'm going to also talk about a little bit about the root distribution of the young trees. And I'm going to also talk a little bit about the differences that we noted between trees that were infected with greening and those that were not infected. Some of the approaches that we use, because we're looking at grower practices, kind of modify it a little bit. In Lake Alfred, it was just basically the traditional grower practice, whereby they were irrigating periodically, like 2 to 3 days a week, and apply granular fertilizer. In Immokalee, we kind of modified it a little bit. We had the irrigation happening 2 to 3 times a week, but apply the fertilizer using fertigation once a month. Now, the advanced citrus production systems, we used drip irrigation, whereby we irrigated daily and then applied daily fertilizer. And the other one was kind of the same micro sprinkler that growers use, that we normally use in the groves. But now, instead of irrigating around the tree, it was kind of irrigating 180 degrees just within the row of the tree. So kind of limiting the irrigation zone. So we use some automated systems for measuring the water use. They call it the stem heat balance method. It's from Dynamax, some company in Texas. And then we also try to monitor the roots, what's the distribution pattern in the irrigated zone versus what's not irrigated compared to what grower practices give us. In the setup in Lake Alfred, that's when I was talking about the system. This is where you have the data logger right there, and that's a 40-watt battery that supports it. And then you have a solar panel that kind of helps in charging the battery, make sure that it's working fine. And the sensor that measures the water use on the tree limb is right there on the tree. Try to make sure that the limb is on a slanting position or vertical. And that was my hand right there. I wanted to make sure that I'm giving you the right figures. In case you may say, oh, you are guessing some figures from somewhere. The results that we noted in Lake Alfred, as I said before, we did like for 3 seasons, 2010, 2011, a couple of times, but I'm just giving you a snapshot for the spring 2011. What we noticed was that the OHS practices like drip right there, and the other one is restricted micro sprinkler, were a little bit greater than the middle one. In each case, the grower practice, though they're not different statistically, when we did the evaluation statistically, they were not different. So the only thing that we're fearing was that the OHS practices would limit water use because we're narrowing the root zone. We're getting a smaller area compared to grower practices, because the grower practice is kind of broader. You are talking about 3 feet of irrigation area or in diameter, thereabouts. So we're like kind of scared that maybe the trees will be water stressed. But what we noticed was something else. The trees were getting enough water even under OHS. Something was noted in Immokalee. We noticed something, no differences, but the grower practice there, maybe because of the fertigation and so forth, was comparable to the drip. Almost, right there. The convention is right there, and the drip was, right there on top. So we noticed that fairly the conventional practice in Immokalee was a little similar to the OHS practices. And looking at the root density distribution, it was interesting because what we noticed was that we're noticing high densities in the top layer, the 0 to 6 inches, compared to the 6 to 12 inches. The most important part that I want us all to take, the message to take from here, as you can notice, that's the root density for drip right there using swingle rootstock and hamlins, and the restricted microsprinkler is right there, and that's the grower practice. That's what we got. We had a larger irrigated zone, but it seems with the OHS practices, we get all the roots condensed within the root zone, and it's much greater, about 2 to 7-fold the grower practice. This other one was like a different rootstock, so that was I think C35, but on Hamlin, but on C35 rootstock, it was also just similar to the one on drip swingle. So we noticed that there's a way that using OHS we're able to increase root density by close to 8 times than what we get with grower practices. And the only thing that I think maybe didn't show any difference was when we looked at the greater diameters of trees, like greater than 0.12 inches, there weren't any differences. But these fibrous roots, the ones that really we require for promoting water use or nutrient uptake, that's the result that we got. And I just want to show you a few maps on the, if we just take the irrigated zone and we look at it, and then an irrigated zone and try to make something out of it. With the conventional practice, there was fairly uniform root distribution within the root zone. That's what we noticed in Lake Alfred or in Immokalee. Kind of uniform and a lot of dense, density of, root density accumulating around the area that's irrigated. Now, with drip, it was just below the drip that we saw a lot of roots. That's it. Anywhere else, like there was nothing. That's why you can even see the blue colors right there. So low density of roots. And same thing with restricted micro sprinkler. All the roots are just right below the micro sprinkler. That's it. And close to the tree, somehow. But beyond that, couldn't get any roots. And what do we make out of it? With the restricted micro sprinkler, even other studies that we did on nutrient distribution and water distribution, we noted that with the OHS, you might result in more water and nutrient savings compared to the grower practice. The only thing is that it seems for now we can make this recommendation for the young trees. We don't want to go beyond I can't talk anything about more than 5 or 6 years of age because that's what we focused on. So for young trees, it seems you promote uptake, you promote root distribution, you promote water uptake as well, and get trees to develop faster and start producing yields. And that was also evident in Lake Alfred, where we were able to show that the yields were high just within 2 or 3 years of installing the growth. What's the take-home message for us all? We conclude that the water uptake was fairly similar between grower practices and OHS irrigation. I think that one, no doubt about that. And also that we could use the automated system of stem heat balance to accurately schedule drip irrigation and maybe predict water use. And also, the other message that I want us to get from this is that we got higher root density with OHS than grower practice. Thank you so much for your attention. Thanks.